Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about George Simmel and his theory on the metropolis and the mental life. We're going to be just briefly talking about what this theory was and the person who it was created by. Then I'm going to talk about the key features of the theory, the significance of the theory, and then the connections that the theory makes to today's society. This theory was created by Georg Simmel, who's a German sociologist who followed a neo-Kantianistic approach and did a lot of work with Max Weber. He focused on political, economic, and aesthetic aspects of society. This theory specifically is from a 1903 essay called The Metropolis and Mental Life that centers around urban sociology and the behavior of those living in cities. This was one of his most major works, along with The Stranger and his concept of sacrifice and value in society. This theory involves both positive and negative critiques of what living in urban cities has on an individual. This includes both their attitude and the idea of their culture. The main point that Simmel is trying to make with this theory is that a person's attitude or psychology is going to change significantly after existing in a city environment. The first thing he did to prove this point was to include different characteristics of Metropolis. Now, urban environments are known to be very diverse, which means there are usually many different cultural intakes on display. There are also a more dense population here, and it's also in a much smaller space than you would see in a rural environment. This means that there will be a constant bombardment of different stimuli. This means different sounds, sights, smells, etc., that a person is interacting with on a daily basis. This is all happening at a very fast pace to be able to keep up with the flow of an urban environment. Then, due to the heavy population and larger capitalistic market, there's also an extreme division of labor that is present in cities. Division of labor means that there are specialized jobs dedicated to a specific group of people. Those people are then experts in that field at that specific task. This then creates conflict in the fact that it's harder to create new sources of income that isn't already appealing to a specific market. Finally, cities are reliant on money-based economy. This makes that one of the main priorities within the city and critical to succeeding within the city. This then leads to a lack of emotional connection between individuals. The next thing that Simmel does in his theory is list different characteristics a person will develop once living within a city. There are some positive and negative aspects. Some positive ones are that they become more punctual, intellectual, and rational. This means that they are more reliant in facts than they are with emotions. This is likely due to the fast-paced environment and money-based economy that was mentioned earlier. Secondly is that they gain a unique personal freedom. This is likely due to the large population that then creates a larger social structure and less chance of being overviewed by someone with strict rules. Then some negative aspects include the lack of emotional connection between individuals and then a sense of loneliness. This is also from the money-based economy, and it can be created by a clash of your culture with the city's culture. Finally, a development of what is known as the blasé attitude. This is what one does when they have essentially become numb to the overwhelming stimuli that was mentioned earlier. They use this attitude to tune out what is and is not important to them. As mentioned earlier, a lot of the sense of loneliness can strive from a struggle between individual culture and other social and cultural influences. Simmel mentions that the city creates an objective culture that individuals will start following once they become accustomed to the modern city. If you as an individual don't want to change to fit this objective culture, there will be a clash between your culture and the city's culture. This usually leads to the individual adapting to the city culture and developing the traits that were mentioned on the last slide. However, there are some cases where the individual resorts to extreme forms of expression to react against the city culture. These are people who are offering a chance for those around them to reclaim individuality and even can symbol a rebellion against the city culture. Ultimately, the point that Simmel is trying to make here is that modern day societies are creating a powerful objective culture based off of money, capitalism, stimuli, and division of labor, and that the individuals who reside within these modern cities will either adapt to the traits that are listed or they will be seen as outcasts amongst everyone else. Next, I wanted to talk about this theory's significance. This theory was influential as it was the first time a major sociologist was tackling modernity and urban sociology. Simmel wanted to talk about the modern city and how it would impact society. This includes how the individuals within the city interact both internally and with each other. Secondly, it makes connections to other large social theories like division of labor, which was mentioned by many different sociologists leading up to this time period. It also touches on concepts such as individual and city culture, the idea of value, which Simmel also talked about a lot in his theories, and how capitalism has an influence on society. It also makes connections to what we now look at as urban socialization. Finally, it fits with the times as cities were becoming more advanced and industrial. This included the development of more advanced automobiles, and this was also during the time of the Second Industrial Revolution. Finally, this theory has a lot of connections to the modern day and is still applicable in the present day, which makes sense given it was talking about modern cities. However, in today's age, there are still some additional details to be added. Firstly, we have become more dependent on capitalism and the idea of a money-based economy. According to Simmel, this would enhance our feelings of loneliness and the development of the blasé attitude. Today's society is also much more integrated with technology. Nearly every interaction we have has technological connections. Things like smartphones have made experiences even more overstimulating. Smartphones has also given individuals easier opportunity to desensitize themselves and become less emotionally connected to those around them. Finally, there has only been an even larger increase in population since 1903. This means that there is an even larger job market, which then means there is a larger division of labor, which equals a larger cost of living, and then a larger reliance on capitalism, which then connects to the traits mentioned earlier. These factors were all previously mentioned as characteristics of Metropolis, but have increased tenfold in the present day. Ultimately, until there is a change in the city's institutions and economy, Semmel's theory will continue to hold true.